With this guy, when I start to warm him up, basically you want to feel that they go nicely forward, nicely in front of the leg, a little bit of trot both reins, and then if it's a slightly spooky environment like it is here, you don't have to go right up to the track straight away. You can just let them settle a little bit. And then you basically want to edge them out towards the track gradually with a bit of sort of leg yield so that you don't face them into the crowd. He's quite a professional at this now, so you might get more excitement from Mike and Voom.
Okay, I'm just going to drop my whip off in the corner because he's a little bit tight and fresh when I got on there. So just to be careful, in case he does buck, I don't really want to have a whip that I accidentally touch him with. So I'll just drop that off. And then I do always prefer to ride my young horses without spurs and a whip, if necessary, because I feel that the horse doesn't know enough yet about the leg. So by putting a spur on, you can easily get a little bit of a misunderstanding and get a bit of a sharp, you might get the horse sort of sharper off the leg, but he doesn't necessarily understand it. So you can easily get the horses maybe a little bit kicky or that they're not really that happy with the leg on. So I always prefer to start without spurs and then pick up a whip if I have to. So you can see he's already really good for a 4-year-old. He's walking right next to the side. The walk is relaxed completely now. So this is a good sign then for me not to spend too long in walk and immediately start trotting. That's it. Just allowing the young horse to go forward, even if he wants to go a little bit too forward. Just allow him anything that's not conflicting the forward aids, basically. So even if he's spooking a little bit and he wants to go on a different line, I maybe let him take that line, but not anything that sort of doesn't stop the forward impulsion coming through. That's it. So he's really actually very relaxed, a lot more relaxed than I thought he was going to be, actually. So I can already start taking a little bit more influence over him. Good, so I'll just ask him to go a little bit more forward. That's it, and it's all about keeping it nice and clear and very simple with the young horse, you know? Not sort of asking too much, but making sure that what you ask positively enough. So immediately getting on in the trot and not worrying about putting too much leg on, getting on, giving him a bit of leg. That's it. Letting him feel good about going forward. It's all about trying to create enough enthusiasm in the young horse that he feels happy in his work. That's it, and then I allow him a little bit lower in the neck. If he wants to take that, that's ideal. So what I have to do is I have to identify where the horse likes to carry his neck carriage. And then automatically make him work a little bit on the opposite. So this horse is very uphill and likes to carry his head quite high out of his shoulders. So what I do before he's developed too much and got too much muscle, I automatically make him work on the stuff that he's not so good at. Therefore, building the strength up in that area gives me the variety later on in the training that I can actually move the neck into the position what he likes, because that will always be there, and then moving it a little bit down and helping him over his back a bit more. Yeah. But if I allow him too much in the neck position that he likes, then he builds up all his muscle and develops all his muscle in that way. And then I find it's very difficult and very hard to change him. Good man. Good, so he's super relaxed. So I'm going to go and pick up a little whip now. That's it. And again in the walk, not interfering with the walk rhythm too much, just allowing him to have a nice long neck and walk forwards through the body. That's good. And then again, just checking when you pick up the whip that you don't have to be too careful. You know that you can move the whip around a little bit and he doesn't worry. It shows a true understanding of the whip. That he'll go away from the whip because he understands it, not because he fears it. That's it. So you can see he's quite comfortable with the whip all over his back, not scared of it. But at the same time, when I use the whip to get him to go forward, that's it. He reacts off it. And you could see there when I gave him a little touch with the whip, how with that extra impulsion, how suddenly he came up in front and came into that place that he loves to be. He loves to be sort of quite up and then very powerful from behind. So what I always make him work on is actually giving me a little bit less power. I'm not interested in power at the moment. I'm just interested in ease and suppleness and balance. That's it. So that's a really nice outline for him. That works him super over the back. It's not a completely full stretch yet, but he really wants to go forward into the stretch. That's super. Good, and then from there, just gently pick up the rein. Not too much interference, just allow him to canter when he wants. That's it, just allow him to canter. That's it. That's what you're not going to be afraid of and suddenly stop him, because if you stop him, you've only got to go into canter again. So you just got to try and ride it out a little bit. That's it. And again, you can see a really nice impulsion from behind. That impulsion always makes him come up in front. So as I work, I slowly try to just make him give up a little bit on the power. Just relax, drop his neck. It's not all about moving big. And then we also at home with our young horses, we do a lot of canter. Not so much trot. The trot a little bit just as a necessary really, but the canter is what we use to build the strength up, because it allows the horse to go nicely forward, doesn't conflict the forward aids against the contact as much as the trot and the walk. That's it. And this is just ideal for a horse like him to want to, in this atmosphere, feel relaxed enough to drop his head and still stay in canter. That's a little reminder. You see there that was my fault a little bit, just taking for granted that he was going to stay in canter. That's it. So always making sure that I keep that canter in a really good gear so that it's not vulnerable of dropping back to trot. That's it, because with this loose contact, it's a lot more for him to do. I'm not giving him hardly any support. He has to hold that canter for himself, which then in turn makes him build the muscles rather than me. That's it, and again, just slowly using the voice. Ooh, ooh, good boy. Rather than too much hand, always use your voice a little bit, and then combine the aids with your voice, and eventually you can start to remove the voice aid. That's it. And anytime he wants to take his head down, all I do is I open my fingers up and say, "You're welcome." That's absolutely fine. That's it. This show really helps him open up those back muscles and strengthens the top line. Good boy. Oh. Yeah, so that I'm really pleased with, for a 4-year-old to come in like this with another stallion. And be, really, this wanting to put his head down, allows me to lighten my hand. And it shows that he's really uninterested in looking around and taking control himself. I feel that the work on the ground there a little bit, and as he knows me as a person, he knows that I'm leading the way. So he doesn't need to be on watch. You know, he can have his head down and he can rely on me to take control and be in charge of things. And in turn, I think that helps him relax because he hasn't got the pressures of worrying about it. It's a little bit like when Dad comes and does the demos with us. We're always a lot more relaxed because we can buffer things onto him a little bit.